Okay, we're here, we're all unloaded. Shorty's having trouble getting out of the wagon. So quick rundown of what we got going on here. I'm gonna keep it brief because I want to use as much time as we got going on here. So this is the first thing we're after, Oliver 60T baler. Not a whole lot to say about it. It's pretty much a parts baler. PTO and drive coupling is missing, unless we can find them laying around here somewhere. The entire knotter and clutch assembly is missing, but it's got lots of good parts on it. Needles are there. I never did open the toolbox. Yeah, well, there's half the PTO shaft. So basically I'm dragging this home for parts. This one is newer than mine. It's got the newer style jack, or newer style heavy jack on it, and some other things that tell me that it's newer. But it's kind of a shame. It was a fairly straight baler, and obviously it was shed kept until there was no more shed. So we got to get this pulled out, load up the scrap out of here, push the shed in a pile so that it's ready to go for when TJ gets here with skid steer. There's some scrap in here. There's a bunch of scrap right through here. Is this plastic? I was like, man, if that's glass, that's cool. Easy flow drop spreader. I think it's an easy flow. If the bottom's in it, if the bottom end is in it and still good, and if we can get it out of this tree, I'm gonna try to. This might be a keeper if, like I say, if the bottom's not rusted out and if we can get it out of that tree. New idea sickle mower frame with most of the pieces gone. That's gonna go home for scrap. All these barrels, scrap. This tank might make a good fuel tank if the bottom's in good shape. It obviously doesn't have anything in it. It's galvanized, so it should be. That might come home and that might become a fuel tank at the farm. Elevator, scrap. This all steel wagon gear, scrap. It's all homemade. Whatever's going on here, scrap. And then down around the corner there's a Ford Dearborn-ish, I think, rotary hoe that's coming. So all this equipment is going home. Most of it, like I say, is probably going to be scrap. Now that I look at it, I'm not even sure. Other than that rotary hoe I think is in decent shape. Other than that, I think the vast majority of this is all just scrap. So like I say, all this has got to get crunched up, which I don't think is going to be too bad. There is some random stuff in here that's got to get crunched up for scrap. I think we're gonna end up overrunning that 40-yard dumpster. I don't think we're gonna have enough room. Must have a chicken coop here. There's some scrap back in here. I mean, it looks like a lot more than there actually is. I really don't think this is gonna be that bad. I still think we're gonna be down here 2 days, but I don't think it's gonna be. Cast iron tub, that's kind of neat. Hey Shelly, you want a flower bed? That would be kind of neat, actually. It's porcelain lined. Let's see what that looks like when we get it flipped over. And then this barn here has to get pushed in a pile for TJ with the skid loader. And then the other thing that we're after is this guy here. This is a very, very rare piece. I've only ever seen one other one, and it was in a picture. And other than that, I've only ever seen them in factory pictures. It's obviously a corn picker, and first glance it appears to be a number 5, but obviously the tongue's gone. And when I first saw it and saw the pictures of it, I'm like, okay, it's a number 5 picker. And earlier ones, it's a green wheeler. And got down here and I walked around the front of it, and it's like, okay, why would anybody steal the tongue and wheel off of a number 5 picker? And then a light bulb went off in my head, and I walked around the side of it and realized it's not a number 5, it's a number 6. A number 6 is a semi-mounted picker made specifically for the Super 55. Several blacksmith plow points. Those are worth something to somebody. Anyhow, number 5 picker, or number 6 picker, made specifically for the Super 55. And it would also fit any Fords of that era, and it would fit a 550, but production never went into the 550 era. They only actually made them for 2 years with a year break in between, and they didn't sell very well. So not very many of them around. This one's obviously got some issues. Like I say, it was a shame because it was shed kept until there was no shed anymore. So there are several pieces for the hitch that I need to find. This is one of them. There should be another one like this somewhere. This is a stay bar to hold the 3-point up, or in position, and basically there is a spreader bar that would go in between the arms on the 3-point of your tractor, just like a, you know, any modern spreader bar. You would put, there should be 2 brackets like that that you put on between the pins on the 3-point and the center link hole on the tractor. Then you unhook your lift arms, and that holds the 3-point basically level. And then one of your lift arms should hook to this right here. And then this is actually how you actually lifted and lowered it with the 3-point, but there was only one link pulling off of this right here. So like I say, there are several parts that we can hopefully find. There's going to be one more of those. There should be the spreader bar, which if I can't find it's no big deal. Okay, there's that hooks into the center link bracket, so that's there, so I don't have to find that. So basically all it looks like that is missing is the factory spreader bar, which if we can't get it, a modern TSC special would work. And then the other one of those, which if I have one, they're just mirror images of each other. So if I find one, that looks like something for a sliding door. If I have the one, then we can just copy it and make the other side. So it looks like a decent chunk of everything is indeed here. So obviously got some rust problems, whatnot, that you're gonna have from something like this sitting outside, but its rarity makes it worth getting out of here. So that's what we've got going on. Pitter patter, let's get at her because we got a little bit of work ahead of us. pull it out kind of halfway by the road and get it out of the way. Really not a whole lot left of that poor old mower. At least I'm assuming that's what it started out life as. I don't know what else it would have been. Anybody that wanted parts, but there's not even any parts left. It's just an undercarriage. Although the wheels look like they're in decent shape. Unfortunately, this old girl's done for. I mean, everybody probably assumed it once when we saw where it was sitting, but you can have hopes. But the bottom is completely blown out of it. So, but it's a Sears and Roebuck, so a Monkey Ward's. But well, guess he's going to China to be turned into some cheap piece of crap, unfortunately. Where'd the ratchet strap come from? Huh. chickens in it. They wanted it fairly well insulated. Anything with that subfloor because I don't know how it's attached in, and they're trying to save that barn, I think, so I don't want to do. I think I might just leave that subfloor there. Best I can so it fits in that dumpster better. How's that for an electric motor? A couple rocks here. I don't know how much that thing weighs. It's a lot, because I can feel it. I bet you just by the way it's built, that thing's got to be from the 30s or 40s. Western Electric. Three-phase, 4MB, 220 volts. I'm guessing that's 15 horse. I could believe that. Made in USA. That is a hunk of iron. I built the part. Okay, we got the picker uncovered. We're starting to work in this area. Actually, we've been working in this area. Mother Nature decided to rain on us, so we got the dumpster pretty much full, and we still got all this. So the landowner called the dumpster company, which was surprisingly open today, but they weren't open for delivery, so they can't bring another dumpster. But basically they have a new service now where they'll bring a dumpster and then they'll provide labor and a skid loader. So basically our job, for the most part, is done. All they wanted us to do, and what TJ's working on right now, is haul all of this stuff up front and put it in a pile next to the dumpster, so that the crew that's coming doesn't have to come all the way back here. And then once he gets that taken care of, we'll get this picker out of here. And I'd like to get the picker and baler loaded up while we got the skid loader, because I can load all the other small shit with the mini. So yeah, that's basically where we're at. Okay, Shelly's got the picker and the forks. I've got, probably can't see it, I've got the baler and the wagon load of scrap, and I threw 3 straps over the wagon over the scrap to tie the scrap down to the wagon, and then we got the wagon strapped down. Ended up being able to set the baler on the trailer with the skid steer by itself, and I was able to kind of drag the picker up on the trailer. There's no good way to get a hold of that picker, none. But sorry we didn't get a whole lot of video there of toward the end of the day. The rain, everybody's wet. We were just wanting to get the hell out of there. So I got TJ squared away. He took skid steer. I got a little bit of work left to do tomorrow, mostly loading stuff up, and we'll be good. But I'm not even gonna we'll unload this stuff first thing in the morning, because I just want to get home and get a shower and get into some dry clothes. So we'll catch you guys tomorrow. All right, we're gonna get things unloaded so I can go back down and finish getting everything. Kind of slow getting started this morning. I was gonna wake up and get on this early right away, and I got up and let the dogs out. Noticed it was still raining, and it's like, nah, I'm not doing this twice. I went back to bed. So but now you can get a better look at this thing, since it's not sitting underneath a barn. I had to put that ratchet strap to keep the elevator held up. It was starting to buckle. Not that that's, I mean, the elevator on this thing is pretty much junk. There's not a whole lot of fix to it. But that being said, the nice thing about this is, other than the obvious different frame for mounting it to a Super 55 or 550 or Ford or whatever, as far as I know, and I'm gonna have to do some checking on part numbers and stuff, as far as I know, the rest of the gathering husking unit, all that, is basically the same as a number 5. And number 5 pickers are a dime a dozen, so finding one to use as an organ donor to fix this thing shouldn't be that big of an issue. And I mean, she's gonna, it's far from a cherry. I mean, the entire grate on the bottom of your I can't remember what the heck they call this, rattle chain, this, any small fodder that gets pulled through goes down on here, and then the chain and these fingers agitate it, and any corn kernels that are left fall through this grate, and as it comes back around, it goes, your bats push it back down and push the kernels into the elevator, and that's how you keep from losing kernels on an ear corn picker, at least on a husking bed. So yeah, I mean, she definitely needs some work, but the oddity and rarity is kind of what makes it worth it, that it's going to need new lower snouts, because those are all rotted, and the entire chain trough for the lift chain is basically gone. Like I say, the elevator and the elevator trough are basically junk. There's really no fix to them. I mean, I guess there's a fix to everything. It's just a matter of how much time you want to spend. And then I did have a couple boo-boos. I put a doink in this hood, and there's a doink in the fan shroud, but the fan shroud's got a big old hole in it, so that's got to come all apart to get fixed anyhow. And this whole top comes off, so that's not going to be too hard to fix. With everything else that's wrong with it, a couple sheet metal doinks isn't necessarily its biggest issue. But we're going to try to get it unloaded. If the Mini picked it up, I gotta believe the 1600 will pick it up. I hope. That's what I got here to unload it with, so we're gonna try it. My neighbors are gonna hate me eventually if they don't already. The old girl's officially joined her place in Project Row. Man, you guys just... It's too early for that crap. I am going to have to... Before I could pop this ratchet strap, get some number 9 wire or something and make a twist that holds that elevator up so it doesn't fall down. When it was sitting in the barn, they had it propped up with a board, but I don't want to do that because I want to be able to mow under it. So have to leave that on there for a minute till I can get something to make something to hold that elevator up. Because technically, the only thing that holds the elevator up while you're in operation is this chain going down to your center link, and then this thing actually pulls forward to pull the chain taut. So without all this to hold the elevator up, the elevator just wants to... So another someday project I didn't need, but it was hard to argue with the price. Never did find the rest of the bracket, so all I've got is that, and so I'll have to end up having to make a mirror to that. And there's one more piece that's going to be hard to replicate. I'm almost going to have to find somebody that has one and get it to copy it, hopefully someday. It's a piece of pipe with some pins and stuff in it, and it's crimped on one. I'll show you the picture sometime. It's because I bought the manuals for it, so I knew what to look for, because I knew there's going to be missing brackets, and so far no luck on finding the missing brackets. I'm sure that they might have been there somewhere, but with that, you would have never found it unless it was laying right next to that. I got lucky and that one was laying under the picker, but there was nothing else laying with it, and Lord only knows the other stuff could still be on the tractor because the tractor was long gone. The guy had a Ford, so, but it's another someday project, and I don't think that's what some people understand about why I drag this stuff home. I'm not dragging this stuff home because I plan on getting to work on it right away. I don't have time, I don't have money. I have other more important things because I'm trying to build a farm. I'm dragging this stuff home because now that I know it's here, it's safe, it's not going to scrap, I don't have to worry about anything happening to it. Yes, it's sitting outside, but it's no longer under trees or anything, which I'm going to have to, when the weather's decent and it's not raining, get some gloves on and pull all this crap out of it. Because if you got to have something sitting outside, the last place you want to put it is anywhere near trees, because leaves start falling in it and they start rotting, and that increases the amount of rusting and the rate of rusting tenfold versus just sitting out in the rain. It's a shame you couldn't have got to this stuff, you know, like 10 years ago. Jack got a little tweaked. But it's sitting up on blocks, so it shouldn't go anywhere, and it's not going to sink into the ground, so we should be good. So now I gotta go get the baler and wagon unloaded, and then we can go from there. Okay, got my load of scrap. There must be some weight there because it's squatting the tires on the wagon. I probably could have threw more small stuff in it, and if it hadn't have been raining, I would have. And if it hadn't been for the fact that I really didn't want to take anything with tires back by them barns again after we got done moving everything. That was the biggest reason I didn't take the 1600 down there, because I knew that was going to be, tracks were the way to go. So, and this baler, this thing kind of, not gonna lie, it kind of hurts a little bit. Was that bent? Good. Nah, that was bent. That's not fresh paint. That must have happened when the barn came down on it. So, this baler kind of hurts a little bit because, I mean, it has been repainted. Don't let the paint fool you. You can see back here where that dark green is the original paint, and then, but whoever did it, I mean, when they took the time to paint it, they did a nice job. They actually took the time to spray it. It's not brush painted or anything. And I mean, they taped off all the decals. The wheels must have been taken off and painted separate. They painted the inside of the bale chamber. I mean, somebody at some point cared about this poor baler. Oh, will the plunger come loose? Oh yeah. I'll be danged. Anyway, that's enough screwing with that. Not gonna lie, if I had the PTO on it, I'd hook it up to a tractor and try to roll it over and see if she'd do anything. But not having the knotters on it's kind of a deal breaker. What else was it? I mean, the only thing wrong with it physically is obviously the arm support there for the stuffer arm is bent from when the roof came down on it, and there's a rust hole. There must have been a hole in the roof before the roof came down. There's a rust hole in the tin right there, but that's all open to the inside of the feed chamber, so that wouldn't be a hard fix. But unfortunately, she's just, with the knotters missing, and in order to find a good set of knotters, chances are they're going to be on a good baler. So why would you part out a good baler to fix a baler that you don't know? I mean, that being said, really the only thing to go to hell on a baler is the bearing blocks on the plunger and the knotters. So I mean, there really probably isn't anything physically wrong with the rest of it, other than this broke while we were loading it, but it looks like there was definitely a previous weld repair right there, so it broke at a previous break. But she's got plenty of good parts on her to keep my 60 going. As much as I wish I could. I mean, you go to a junkyard, you find a set of knotters on a junk baler, chances are they're going to be all froze up, rusted up, nasty. You're going to have to find a bunch of parts to fix the knotters. You find a good set of knotters, they're going to be, it's just unfortunately, it's one of them deals where it's just not worth it. And I don't need 2 balers, but I do need a baler for parts, so unfortunately I think this thing is the candidate. So, anyhow, I'm going to pull the wagon back to my house so that Dad doesn't have to look at it. This thing's going to go to my house. I'm probably just going to throw a set of wheels on it real fast, and I'll pull it back to my house with a tractor, because the 1600 would have never picked this thing up. So, the thing I don't get, this thing was way too damn wide. You'd have never got it. You'd have never backed it up on the trailer. But we've had a 720 baler on there, backed it up the ramps like normal. And I know dang well the 720's wider than this thing, because the 720's got a super sweep on it. Or what would have at the time been considered a super sweep. The sweeps on the pickups on those things are super huge. So I don't get, I can't remember how the heck we managed to get that 720 on there. That was many moons ago though. I wish I still had that baler. That baler was a hay-eating son of a bitch. But anyway, we have to get rolling because I really want to get this project finished up. And the longer I put it off, the more of a day we're gonna burn up. Okay, so we never did show you the final tally. This is what we ended up with. Just a bunch of hand picking left. I wish we'd have had more time. And by more time, I mean several weeks. Because if you could have went through that, you know, and actually took time to look, there's probably a lot of cool shit in there, but we, yeah, those are still soaked. Kind of forgot them in here. I had one weekend slated for this project, and it's an hour from home, and really needed more equipment. Would have been nice, but so we had to do the run and gun version. They kept trying to get us to leave the equipment down here, like, can you come back down Monday or something if we got a different. It's like, no, everybody's got work. TJ's got cows to feed, he needs a skid loader, he's got a family. It's like I had one weekend scheduled for this project. That was it. This is what you get. I think they were expecting us to come out here and do a clean sweep and hand pick everything and, you know, make it nice and pretty, and that's not what we were here for. One last look to see if there's any possible parts. Oh, and you obviously see that's I never did take in here. This is obviously a horse stable. I guess the story is the guy actually used to raise or breed and raise race horses, was what they had going on back here. So yeah, like I say, if you could have got to this place 10 years ago, a lot of this stuff probably would have been savable, but I think now the only way to save these barns is to just Tropicana. That's cool. I think the only way to save these barns now is just to, you know, put them on the ground and start over again. But anyway, we got some stuff we got to load by hand, and then get the Mini and the 66 out, and I got a few more things to move, and we'll get loaded up and get out of here. I wish this old thermometer was in better shape. The glass is all busted out, but it looks like a B model Mack concrete truck with a flat, not an inclined mixer drum, so that's probably early 50s. Plus that phone number right there tells you a lot. But you try moving it and the glass almost falls out, so I'm just going to leave that there. She can live out her final days hanging on the wall. Grab my fuel tank. $750 and $1,000, but it's like half full of waste oil, and I ain't screwing with none of that. This is the last thing I gotta grab. Part of it's a bunch of bed frame. There is more bed frames out here. I don't know how or why you have this many bed frames. But there was so many of them things out here, it ain't funny. But anyway, the piece with the wheels is the last thing I gotta grab, and that, near as I can tell, is part of an old New Idea four-wheel hay rake, and I'm pretty sure it's New Idea because of that gear set right there. New Idea was one of the only ones to make a four-wheel rake with a tedder gear, and that's what the two bevel gears are. You'd slide them back and forth. One way would drive one way would drive the other, so you could either rake or ted. So I'm pretty sure that this is what's left of a New Idea rake. Obviously the rest of it's gone, but anyhow, this is the last thing I'm grabbing. We're gonna get loaded up, get out of here. Okay, we're getting there. I left to change stuff down. I stole those wheels off that hay rake frame. It was actually a co-op. I don't know if you can. You can kind of see it. It actually says "Made in Canada" on that gear, and the orange paint's a pretty good giveaway that was actually a co-op. But we're gonna keep one, and I'm gonna give one to TJ's wife as payment for a Saturday's worth of husband rental. So anyhow, we're gonna get strapped down and get out of here. I was gonna save that rotary hoe and try to sell it, but the more I looked at it, the worse it gets. There's a car coming. Half the rotary wheels are rusted off, and the frame's been broke and fixed, and all sorts of fun stuff. So I just decided to say screw it, we're gonna just scrap it. Like I say, if you could have got to some of this stuff about 10 years ago, you might have had something. But all right, doing this one-handed to struggle, so I'm gonna cut you off here and we'll catch you back at the house. Okay, we are home. Everything went uneventful. Nothing fell off going down the road. Shelly did good pulling the trailer, because there's a lot of people that a hodgepodge load like that would make them plenty nervous, especially going down some major roads like we were going down. But nothing fell off, nothing came loose, we're all good. A scrapper wouldn't feel bad. If most scrappers would probably throw that pile on there and not even bother scrapping it down, because those guys are fearless or stupid, or I don't know. I've seen scrappers do some really sketchy shit. But I am kind of disappointed in the, well, I shouldn't say I'm disappointed. I kind of expected it. I had like very faint hopes that this was something that could be fixed, but it's too far gone. I almost took these wheels off of this mower frame, but they're 14s, and 14-inch implement tires are, your options are limited, and everything else I have except for, I think I've only got one thing that's still got a 14-inch tire on it, and that's a plow. Anything else I'd rather have 15, so I just said screw it, left them on there. If the tires were decent, but the tires are junk, so there ain't no sense in it. That elevator that you can kind of see part of, that was a David Bradley. You can tell that 3-bolt wheel is a dead giveaway. It was either a David Bradley or a Sears and Roebuck, one of the two, but it was kind of neat because it had this great big massive hand wheel to, there was no gear reduction or nothing. It was just that big ass hand wheel with a ratchet and a cable, and you literally manhandled it to raise and lower it. But the minute I touched that thing, it must have been the vines that were wrapped up in it still hold it up, because the minute I touched it, it fell into like 4 pieces and just fell apart. I mean, it was already broke once, but there was no gentle way of getting it out of that fence line in a recognizable shape. We already talked about the rotary hoe. It's just all these wheels are rusted out. They're all froze on the axle. You'd play hell getting them apart to try to get, it's just, and the frame's been broken, welded and stuff. It's just, them Dearborn implements are a dime a dozen. It's not worth trying to find somebody that wants it. It's not even worth parts. Then that wagon, think that's pretty much all that's on there. And then obviously that rake frame. So between that and that, should have a fair bit of money in scrap. And then this was the good, well, there's obviously, this was stuff that I already had sorted out when the wagon got full, so I figured I'd go ahead and take it. That's a busted Baler needle for that 60. I guess now I need to go back. I thought it had 2 good needles on it, but it might only have 1 good needle. That one looks like they tried to braze it. Yeah, they tried to braze that one and it must have re-broke. Which makes you wonder if that's why the knotters are missing, is maybe they had a needle crash and there was a catastrophic knotter failure and they were in the middle of fixing it when whatever happened, and that's why there's pieces missing. But other than that, there's really nothing in here to report. The goodies are sitting here on the tailgate. We found a full set of horseshoes. Probably, I mean, those are not work horseshoes. Those are riding shoes, so those are off of a riding horse. I found this cool license plate. It's a where'd I find it? 1954 Indiana. What's that? What does that say? I can't make out what that is. 54 Indiana 51217. What does that say? It doesn't make any sense no matter which way you put it. It doesn't make any letters. That looks like a D. I don't know what that says. And then this is neat because it's got the GVW sticker on it, gross weight. I'm guessing that 5 means 5 ton. I've never seen one of them before. But I pulled it out of the, it's kind of rough, but I pulled it out of the scrap pile because it was just kind of neat. I figure I can clean it up, and I've got a 1967 Michigan plate inside. I'd probably put it with that. I wish I knew what that said. It looks like Cyrillic. I don't know. I found that. This one Shelly found. Actually, Shelly found this and these. This is a factory Ford bumper that is not in too bad a shape. The bottom bar is tweaked, and it might be, I don't think it's sprung shut. So this, if anybody's interested in it, you guys get first dibs before I put it up for sale, because I have no use for it. I had thought about seeing if I could make it fit the Super 55, but the more I thought about it, the more it's like there's a bolt pattern on the front of it. I'd rather, if I was ever to put a hitch on the front, I'd rather have it on the front on that bolt pattern. That way I was pushing off the frame, not the front axle. But if any of you Ford guys, I'm pretty sure, I mean, a Ford guy will know more than me, but I'm pretty sure these will fit all of them from like an 8N all the way up to like a 2000, 3000, I think. But I know for sure they'll fit like an 8N, an NNA, the 700 series, the 900 series, the 800 series. I'm pretty sure they'll fit all those. I think they were all the same. I think. I'm not a Ford guy. But I've never seen them advertised as certain bumpers for certain models. So if anybody's interested in that, that is an original, not a repop. So it's got to be worth something to somebody. I know the reproductions are fairly salty. So first person to make me an offer. It is kind of heavy, so shipping might be expensive. So the closer you are, the better, because you're probably going to want to come pick it up to save on shipping. Otherwise, we'll have to work shipping into the price somehow. But make me a decent offer on it, because it is an original, so I'm not just going to give it away. But I'd like to see it go to a good home. And then these... This is unfortunate. This was 6 brand spanking new plow points, but unfortunately they were all but one sitting in the dirt, and they basically just rotted away. The more I saved them all at first, but the more I looked at it, the worse they got. These two, this one here is damn near perfect. it was sitting on top of the pile, so it was mostly out of the dirt. They've never been on a plow. There's no wear on them. They're brand new points. This one I picked out of the pile because it is a mate to this. There was two different brands. There was factory. They're Ferguson AO 120As. You type that part number into Google, it comes up as a part number for a 14-inch Ferguson AO series plow. And brand new ones that I was finding were anywhere between $150 and $190 a piece. So I figured they're worth something to somebody if the brand new ones are worth that much. I don't expect anybody to give me that much for them, but like I say, this one is perfect. There's not a damn thing wrong with this one other than the bolts are junk, obviously. But everything that it needs is there. This one is a mate to it. Like I say, that they've never been on a plow. And this one is good up until about here, and then it's got some rust in it. But it's not too far gone. I think if you ground that back to an edge, I'm pretty sure it would plow just fine. And I know some of those Ferguson plow parts are kind of hard to find, so I figured I'd pull these out of the pile and see if anybody wants them. These are the only two full cast ones. These ones are drop forged. These are actually, I think one of them had a stamp on them. I think it's Crescent Forge, because they were a completely different part number, but they're still Crescent Forge and Shovel. Crescent Forge and Shovel Company, something, Georgia. But they're still AO 120As. They're just not factory Ferguson. They're Crescent Forges. But either way, these ones are junk. That one, these ones, I don't know what these are. These ones are kind of I mean, like, these are solid. These ones almost sound tinny. I think they were, even back in the day, probably cheap plow points. So like I say, I got this bumper in these Ferguson plow points. Like I say, this one is, I would give this one a 9 out of 10. It's damn near perfect. This one I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It needs a little bit of work, but I see no reason. I mean, the main part of the point right here where you want all your meat so it doesn't break off, this is all, the whole neck here is all good. So like I say, this one with a little bit of work with a grinder, and if you really felt like it, you could probably take some hard surface rod and go in and fill in some of the pits. But I'm not even sure that would be 100% necessary. I mean, if you got a Ferguson plow, chances are you just playing anyhow, so it ain't got to be perfect. So like I say, Ferguson AO 120- or AO-120-A's. If anybody wants them for a 14-inch Ferguson AO series plow, that's what the internet says. So you got those, you got that. If anybody's interested in either one of them, I'll put my email down in the video description. This isn't gonna be a, is this still available? I don't want that. Is this still available? Craigslist bullshit. Make me an offer. You want it or you don't. If you're gonna hem-haw about it, don't bother. Because man, I can't stand that crap. You either want it or you don't. So make me a decent offer on the plow points. Make me a decent offer on the bumper. I'd like to say I could have saved some more stuff for you, but like I say, I think we were 10 years too late on most of it. So anyhow, I guess I gotta go back to mom and dad's and get the track. Oh, I found this shovel too. This is a good shovel. I actually used it to clean the tracks off on the Mini. The head's a little loose, but I think I can fix that, and then it's not a bad little short handle, D-handle, flat face shovel. What can I say? I'm a scavenger. It's got a little crack in it, but so anyhow, like I say, make me an offer on that stuff. I wish I could have saved more stuff for you, but there wasn't really, the more I got into it, there wasn't much worth saving. So is what it is. Scrap money. It'll definitely pay for the project. So anyhow, I guess I'm gonna get the rest of my work done so I can knock off for the night. So that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.